Welcome again. I hope I've given a good picture, sort of in a theoretical framework of how character is developed in children. And in this video and a few subsequent videos, I'll talk in detail practical ways as a teacher or as a parent, you can play a vital role in helping to shape your child's character. Although there's many other factors that go into it, this is just to talk about what you and I can do as teachers and as parents. It is my experience, and I recognize right away, there are many ways that children's character is shaped. This is just what I've discovered is the part that we can play as the adults in their lives that help get them onto that pathway of excellence, which is their character. And you'll remember character is the summation, the aggregate of all the different characteristics, the good behaviors, which I like to call virtue. I think that's a historical term that's useful, that have become habits. And because they're habits, it's a part of who they are. And that equals their character. Now, this takes time to develop these good behaviors that have been habituated. And it should begin early if you can. And I think there's lots of evidence. We've talked about the early start and the cumulative advantage. So when children are in their mid to late teens, their early adulthood, there's something of a solid character that approaches life with an attitude of growth, and they know how to grow, and they have the habits that will help them grow. Now, there's two components when we get real practical, real concrete with how do we do this. Number one is we need definitions from which you work, definition of what courage means, or self-control and compassion, something that allows us to then introduce a practice. And when you practice, you can go back to the language that will clarify, are you on the right track or not? You know, we see this in sports. I know in my coaching, something like footwork was always important, whether it's tennis or soccer or football, you've got to learn your footwork. Now, that's not the sport in and of itself, but it's a part of something that you can then practice, then check back again, what's your footwork like? Where have I fallen short? Where can I improve? And so on. So the language, the definition is very, very important. You see this in music in the same way. You've got to begin knowing how to hold your instrument. If you play brass or woodwind, you have to know how to shape your lips, how to blow into them appropriately, how to use your tongue and your teeth in order to create a good sound. Math is my subject. If you want to do advanced math, you've got to learn factoring patterns, whether it is simple fractional work when you add and subtract fractions, or whether it's more complex factoring work on algebra and algebra 2 and calculus or trigonometry or calculus. You have to know factoring patterns. And then because it's defined, you can practice it. After you practice it, you can check again, okay, am I on track? Without the language, you can still practice, but very often bad habits occur. And you're not sure if you're making progress because you're not aligned with, at least in general, what's the definition of a good tennis player, of a good baseball player, of a good violinist. And then if you have a good definition, but you don't practice, then all the aspirations just go up like a wisp in the wind and they're blown away. There's no framework. To go assess what you're doing and then to measure it out and to make sure you're making that progress. So now let's come to courage, and we'll do the same thing. I think when we think of courage, very often we think about the heroic kinds of courage, the very heroic, the famous warrior, the great statesman who takes a position against trends in politics or trends in their country and gives their life for some cause within their social environment, their political environment. And those are certainly courage, but that definition doesn't help us prepare something for children to practice. So I'd like to recommend a little adjustment that I've made in the past with children. Courage is a framework that's useful is when we've got some kinds of goals in mind, some objectives related to our growth in anything, school, sports, music, and so forth. There's something very definite we want to reach toward. That's the beginning of courage. Then we define a pathway to get there. What do we need to do? How are we going to do it? And when When are we going to do it? See, there's something concrete that matches that goal, that objective that I have to improve. Improve in math, improve in writing, improve generally in our study habits, improve in the sports that we love or the music, the instrument we enjoy. We've got something marked out according to the definition, and now we've got a way to practice. And then I really want to emphasize this pathway, because always, and here's where courage comes in. When we have this kind of goal or objective to grow, and we measure out what is it I have to do, how do I do it, and when do I do it, we're talking about some level of sacrifice, some level of my giving my time and my energy to accomplish what I want to do. And that's where courage comes. Because if I've budgeted time to get stronger, to play my sport, or if I budgeted time to practice my math so I can do well on a math competition, I give up time, maybe time that I would have had fun with friends or anything else that is my typical hobby that I enjoy. I make a choice, and that's where the courage comes. The courage to know what I've got to do, and then plowing forward to pay the price in order that I can achieve what I want. And you see, that's courage. So this can be taught to little children when they're learning to, they're at one level of reading and you want to lift them to the next level of reading. Well, if we want to get better, we're going to have to practice. And how about if we set a little bit of time on Saturday afternoon and you and I will read together, or you and I will practice facts together, or we'll take you to a batting cage for more practice, or we'll budget time late Sunday afternoon when we'll practice our instrument, or something where we help children make a commitment that costs a little bit of themselves in order to get better. And now we've got something that can create courage as a way of life. And I hope you can see by these little examples that I'm giving you. I see this in my math and my writing classes all the time. You want to get better? I will sit down with you. What's our goal? Where do we want to go? What are we going to have to do? And now, when will you do it? And over time, this is what I love this over time, courage gets strengthened. They begin to understand, when I want to grow, there are challenges I have to go after them, and I have to pay a price. And then little by little, not just progress is made at that time, but they're cultivating courage. And when you start very small with little children, doing their work well, getting along with others, socialization is a part of goal setting. How will you get along with the little boy or little girl that's a little bit of a bully, or they're just overbearing? What will you do? What will you have to, what behaviors will you have to have? And what price does it cost? That helps children frame in their mind the real meaning of courage. And it's something that they can grow and develop and cultivate over time. I can tell you from my own experience, children who've been in this process for a number of years, by the time they're 13, 14, 15 years old, I'm not saying they're unafraid to attack anything, but they're not intimidated quite easily because they have the experience of applying courage. Whether they call it courage or not, they have developed those habits, those virtues that are now theirs. That's a part of how they face life. So they've got courage that allows them to grow and flourish and thrive in every stage of life that they have and in anything they want to do. You can see it concretely, whether it's with little children or with older children, help them have goals. Talk with them how they're going to get there, and talk with them about the price that they need to pay. All right, thank you.